After Jeff was granted a new trial, there were few who remained friendly to me. Nearly all believed firmly in Jeff's guilt. All I could hope for was a jury with an open mind.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bernay. I see that I am on the jury list. Since we are good friends, I wanted to warn you that I have heard the evidence, and I believe that Jeff is guilty. I think you're right to tell you this.
Major Wardlaw, even though you may at present believe he is guilty, I trust your judgment and honesty and believe the evidence I present to you will compel you to change your mind.
I promise you, William, I will keep an open mind. But if the evidence is insufficient to sway my opinion, I will do you no favors. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but I believe your client will end up back on the gallows.
All rise. The Honorable Judge Thomas Mackey presiding. Please be seated.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Calling the state of South Carolina versus defendant Jeff David. Has the jury elected a foreman?
We have, Your Honor, Major Andrew Wardlaw.
Mr. Benet, have you a witness to call?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would like to call Captain James King.
You may proceed.
Mr. King, you testified at the previous trial that you had...
That's Captain King, sir.
My apologies, Captain. You testified at the previous trial that you'd examined the home of Mr. Franklin in the morning of the murders. During that testimony, you stated that you found my client's footprints at the scene of the crime. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is it also true that during that time you went to visit my client?
Yes, sir.
And you asked my client if he knew where the Franklins hid their money?
Well, what do you mean, sir?
Did my client know where the Franklins stored their money?
Yes. Well, yes, he did.
Because you asked him.
That is correct.
And what did he tell you?
That boy told me the Franklins had multiple hiding places in their home.
Was one of them under Miss Drusilla's bed?
That's right.
Was it a big roll of money in a trunk?
That is correct.
And when Mr. David told you this, what'd you do?
Well, I went to the house, I pulled out the trunk, and I opened it up.
And what'd you find?
Lots of cash.
So if the motive was theft of money, wouldn't the perpetrator have taken the cash?
I don't know.
Yet it remained there. And you stated that Jeff David knew where the money was.
Yes.
So Jeff David did not take that money, even though he could have.
I don't know.
Why didn't you share this information at the last trial?
I forgot. Or I reckon nobody asked me about it.
Yet that information would have thrown down on a conviction, would it have not?
I don't know.
I'd like to ask you about something else. Did Jeff confess to you that he was the killer?
Yes, he did.
Was he coerced?
No.
Isn't it true that before Jeff was arrested, you and Tom Arnold put a noose around his neck, told him to tell you about the murders or you would hang him right there as poor Jeff protested his innocence?
Do I need a lawyer?
We need the truth.
We was only trying to help the sheriff.
I'd like to ask you one final question. If you had a rope around your neck, would you admit to a crime you didn't commit in order to save yourself?
Oh, hell, counselor. You have no idea what I've been through.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, good. The witness may step down. Now, if there are no further witnesses, I'd like...
If you could just bear with me one more moment, Your Honor. I'd like to call one more witness.
Counselor, why does that not surprise me? You may proceed.
I'd like to call Tom Arnold to the witness stand. Mr. Arnold, in your statement to the sheriff, you stated that Jeff David's footprints were clearly visible in the sand in and around the Arnold place.
Yes, sir.
That morning, there were quite a few people around there, were there not?
There was a big crowd.
And they were contained to one area?
No, sir. They was all over the place.
How big of a crowd would you say? 5, 10 people?
30 people at least.
30 people. How could you tell Jeff's footprints from all the others?
We had Jeff walk up the path from the road to the house.
But you said earlier that you found his prints that morning.
Well, we told him to recreate his steps because there were too many other footprints around. We wanted to make sure his footprints were there.
So the footprints you referenced at the previous trial were not his footprints from the night before, but from the morning after.
That's correct.
When Jeff recreated his steps, was it before or after you and Captain King threatened him with the hanging?
After.
I thought so.